My name is Lateef Sadiq. I grew up in a very poor area in Brooklyn called the Black Bottom. Those streets and those housing don't exist anymore because Metro Tech have taken all that area now. But I grew up in that area. It's called the Black Bottom. That's where everybody came from the South and they settled there. It was pretty rough at that time because it was back in the 30s. It was depression. They had what you call relief for the black people downtown, Urban League that would give us food during the holidays. And at that time, there was a lot of people had to do a lot of illegal stuff in order to survive because they didn't have jobs. I went to a school called PS-14, which don't exist now. I went to boys' high school. Now I'm 79 years old. Well, actually I came from the street. I was dealing with a lot of things that was illegal, and I was inspired by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He in turn told me to go back to school and learn about certain things and come back and help our people. And so I had to go to college for 10 years at night. Because the other people, they was young. I went to school when I was about 50 years old. And I stayed with it. So I learned everything about how to set up businesses and the tax structure and whatnot, and I came back to teach. So what I did, I opened up a little school and I started teaching people how to do taxes and a whole lot of other things. I learned how to do corporations, partnerships, auditing, accounting, bookkeeping, bonds, stocks and bonds, job cost accounting, and it teaches you how to set up factories. I incorporated our corporation under 501c3 back in 1982. I went to certain people to get it done, but it cost too much, so I had to do it myself. I became interested in housing development. Well, what I did, first of all, I had to go and learn how to write proposals. I went to Medgar Evers, Miss Carolyn Saunders, she sent me there, and she in turn told me, I didn't want to go at first. I started arguing with her. She said, get yourself over there. And what I learned how to set up corporations. I established the Immigrant Savings Bank Scholarship Fund. They still have it now. I established a food bank, food pantry rather, and what it is, that lasted, we fed 360,000 people a year. Established the clothing program for the people in the community. Paul Robeson High School established that, and I did a lot of other things in the community that most people don't know because I don't get out and try to advertise, I just go and do it. Moses Powell taught me martial art back in the 60s. For 8 hours a day, 4 in the morning, 4 in the afternoon, for 3 years, because I really want to learn martial art. I've been training ever since then, 57 years now. Break his finger. I thank Allah for him giving me that knowledge because it saved my life many times. And what I did, I tried to teach people that aspect of my training. 320 Sterling Street, that was a famous street. It was heavy crack at that time. I remember the 77 pieces guy wrote in the paper. It was a paper where a cop was taking graft and he was taking $8,000 a week. We had established a security firm in the building, outside as well as inside. And we did verticals up and down the building hallways, make sure that no woman gets raped or attacked or something like that. And what it is, we had a few confrontations, but we dealt with it. Crack dealers wanted to deal with it. They heard about McDonald's over on Utica Avenue. I mean, there had a lot of people hanging out in front of McDonald's that was like flies. The people were afraid to go in there because they would see all these drug dealers hanging out, drinking their coffee and whatnot. So they told me that, could you do anything? I said, sure, and just get the brothers and they post security. So we had to deal with that. Well, first of all, the police didn't want us to do that job. They locked me up about 5 times. trying to do our job. There's a lot of people laying out there in the hallway, you know, so he had to lock me up for that. I said I had to defend myself because they attacked me. That started me getting into the housing aspect of the city. The city had a lot of housing for $1 at that time. Well, it started in 1988, and this is the building that we got. It started off at $1.7 million, and then I'm prolonging and I'm kicking it back and forth from the state to the city. It went on for about almost 4 years, and then the price kept going up. And what it was is that it went from 1.7 to $3.6 million. Oh, what it was, there's a lady, I love her very much. She was a white woman, and she helped us a lot. Her name is Tracy Wine. She was for the DHCR. That's up in the Bronx. They're the ones that gave us the money, and the city was the one that gave us the building. And so I wrote a program, and she said, "Wow, this is perfect, what we need." So she approved it, and we got $1.7 million. And so they played with the program. They had managers. We had to send paperwork. I mean, we had about 10 tons of paper we had. And if we didn't have this team around us, like the architect, consultants, and lawyers, we would have failed. Because sometimes the city and state put you where that you can fail. They won't give you certain information, and you don't give that, and then they say, well, you're not qualified. So I went to a whole lot of paperwork with this program. 17 times, 17 times. Yes. I never heard of anybody following 17 sets of plans. So we had a lot of problems with that. They kept prolonging it. They kept changing it. We had about 3 or 4 inspectors. Contractors, we had to interview contractors for the job if they're qualified. It's a lot of work involved. And so we had a lot of problems. Then they gave us another manager that we got for the building. We had problems with them. In fact, they're the ones that are locking us out of the building right now because they want to take over the building and squeeze the building out of monies and stuff like that. Well, we had programs down in the basement. Well, what it is this is that according to our mandate is that we are to create jobs in the community. In order to create jobs, you can't put a man on a job and not train him. I was teaching people how to set up their records, how to set up their books and things like that. We would train them to be electricians, plumbers, accountants, bookkeepers, and things like that, so accept their own business. And what it is, they locked us out of the basement twice. I had to get lawyers to pay, and every time I turn around, the corporation didn't have money. I had to pay money out of my own pocket. So we need an attorney to handle our case so that after we get the building back, because we have the deed to the building. People there now was selected by the city to manage the building, and now they want to take the building over. So we're trying to get a lawyer that's willing to adjudicate our case so that we could get back in the building, and then we pay them from the funds that we get from the rents. The deed is in our corporation's name. If we take the building over, we will be able to manage the building ourselves. Because I had to go to HPD and take 2 courses. This is the course I took in 1990. This is the course that I had to take again in HPD, Housing Management. And what it is that I'm an inspector now. I can inspect the building whether it's, there's a violation or whatever. This is the history of all the legal documents I have from beginning until this present. One case, they owe us $7,000. And the other case, they owe us $25,000. See, when a developer develops a building, they get development fee for that. And they didn't pay us out. I've been waiting now for 15 years. Because I had one case with the attorney, I won. I did it pro se, and I won that case. I owed $4,000, and then from there we got to go to Supreme Court in order to get our $25,000. Because one of the directors of the corporation stole the check. I have copies of the check that they stole. They didn't know I'm an auditor, so I got a copy of the check, and they stole that. And what it is that they're going to go to jail once this is adjudicated. The attorneys that first started off with, I paid them up front, which I should have never did. I should have paid half, and they didn't do the job. I had some previous lawyers that didn't tell me everything. Building's in good shape. They're They have 24 apartments in there. They have 2 elevators, they have 2 sides, they have left and right. The state is constantly inspecting the building and the city for the boiler, for the hallway, for the painting, for the garbage disposal, for the cleanliness, for the upkeep of the building. What I want to do to make the appeal is that we need an attorney that's going to work with us to get our building back, and we will pay him after the case is finished. We spent all our money to these other lawyers and they didn't do anything but just waste a lot of time and prolong the litigation. But we appeal to the public that we need an attorney to handle our case. We have all the documentation because I'm an accountant. I have the deed, I have the history of the litigations that's been going on for the last 8 years. We want our building back, we want our funds that's owed to us, and we want it with penalties and interest. And we're willing to sign a contract with any lawyer that's willing to handle the case that we will pay them after the case is completed. Because the building's there, it's increased its rents maybe 8, 9 times. We had the management right now remove all the violations removed. We just want to be able to get our building back so we can manage it. Because they've been sucking the building dry for the last 15 years. See, I never knew that a management company can steal a building and take the money out illegally. They made it right, have it right, signed by the managers there now. But you got to go to litigation, you got to go to the courts, and then if the lawyer's not right, then they can mess you around. They locked us out of the building. They changed the locks on all those doors. So we've been locked out of the building for literally for about 15 years. Well, all the classes stopped. Even the food program had to stop because we couldn't get the building to put the food in those. We got a lot of storage down there, basically, where we could put the food. Even the mats, yeah, they took all our mats. We used to train martial art down there, and what they did, brand new mats. We had just paid $1,000 some odd for them. They took our mats, they took our chairs, they took our rugs, they took all that stuff. I don't think the case will last that long. I say within the first few months, unless they're going to try to adjourn it like that. But we have all the evidence that they can't get around that. Because the building was awarded to us. We have evidence from the very first time from the city of New York. And this is the history of the case right here. So they can't get away with that. You know, all I say is this, is that is there any attorneys out there that are willing to work with us, and we will pay them. But we can't pay them to start the case. We'll have to wait until we finish the case. There's over $300,000 a year that we collect from that building.